Hello everybody, and welcome back to Dungeons & Dragons: The Second Age. How are we all doing?
What
was that noise?
That was very
What was that?
reassuring. I don't know. I was gonna say something and I just made a noise.
Okay,
That's the mood for today.
that is the general mood for today. Okay, so before we get today's session underway, does anyone want to tell me what happened last time?
Sure. Well, last time we started in kind of a bad situation, some might say. We
Some might say that, yes.
we're kind of stuck in a fortress, Duragar fortress, with one way out, and between us and the exit was an army. But before we could leave, we had to gather the notes of the legendary forge on how to make dark steel,
Black steel, yes.
black steel. Keep on mixing them up. And we decided also to destroy the forge too.
You did. In doing so, you unleashed a fire elemental, which was somewhat unexpected, but
You know, things happen. Fire element.
Yeah.
Here and there.
Casual.
The casual. Or the usual. As we had done all this and tried to escape, we kind of destroyed their phalanx that they set up with 2 beats of force. Basically just lifting up one side of the phalanx and putting it behind us.
Yep. Because that's not cheating at all.
No, look, it was totally legit.
We'll
We had the beats of force.
we'll call it creative use of magic items.
Followed by us just running out of there. And as we ran out of there, we did a lot of escaping. Eventually, we managed to kind of get a lead by creating a distraction with Lithari's smoke bottle. Not sure what it's called anymore, but at least it helped us out.
Ever so good.
Yes.
That's the one. We went back up the stairs, got outside, decided to close the hatch and try and just block the entire thing with, putting water over there, collapsing some stuff onto it, all the good stuff. Followed by us setting up camp and evaluating our loot and checking if we actually recovered what we needed.
Which you still technically don't have an answer to you because
Lol.
you don't know what half of what is in half of the things that you picked up. But
Didn't we confirm that at least one of the books were describing?
yeah, you got the original text, yes, but you have no idea what any of the other books are, or the letter that you found.
But at least we know we got what we were looking for. I think.
Hopefully.
You definitely got what Lithari was looking for.
That's true.
Yeah.
Hopefully they didn't copy paste the book somewhere else too.
Copy paste.
Just Xerox that shit.
Yep.
Um,
I'm sure there's some bullshit magical spell that allows you
Probably.
to do that, so.
Yeah.
but I don't actually think that was our entire session, was it?
Yep. We spent a long time down there.
Yeah,
It sounds like
there was a little bit of roleplay at the end of the session between some characters, and Vondal got a magic item.
Yep. The super hammer.
Which,
The best hammer.
during the end of the session, I decided that I wasn't going to nerf it in the way that I was going to nerf it, and I decided to give it to you rules as written, so we will see if this completely breaks the campaign or not.
The only problem is I can no longer put the hammer down because now I'm just chucking it at people.
I feel like it will be fine. Worst case, you'll just hit us harder,
Yeah.
or just charm Vondal, then he'll throw it at us.
Oh no!
Oh, God,
don't
no.
give him ideas.
Yeah,
why would
fucking
you
hell,
do that?
Minnie. Keep that mouth shut next time.
You act like I don't know this already, despite the fact that I've done it to you multiple times.
You haven't actually attacked us. Just
No,
Slow
because
us.
most creatures of current level haven't been able to actually attack you. They have specific limitations about forcing you to attack each
Yeah.
other. But yes. So, without further ado, we will resume from that point. As
we were just packing up and leaving, I believe.
yes, you just finished a long rest. You leveled up in the meantime,
Yeah.
and
Oh, I don't think I rolled my health.
oh,
Fool.
do that before we get started, because then you can be at full health when we get there.
Wait. We
Uh,
can just add the average thing. We
Oh, is it average?
oh yeah, we usually do average for hit dice.
Okay.
Yeah, for max health.
So it would be 7, but I don't know if you roll health for your character like before. So
No, I think I just did the average. That makes sense.
So
we go on a +8. Yeah. It's not much worse.
as you break down the camp and proceed to head out, I'd like all of you to make me perception checks.
Oh, shit. Almost.
Ooh.
Well,
So
Well, okay.
yep.
all right.
Hooray,
There we go.
natural 1 in perception.
Perfect.
We're back, baby.
Good start.
So we're back.
We're back.
Indeed. Whilst Grim and Kelariis are breaking down the last of the tents, kicking out the ashes of the fire, Lithari, Arya, and Vondal, you all become aware roughly at the same moment of what is probably like a number of creatures in the distance disappearing off through the underbrush in sort of a startled fashion. Yeah, I guess that's all you notice.
Okay, great. I'm sure that's not worrying at all.
Well, it is worrying. That's why I've pointed it out to you.
I know.
The question is, what do you want to do with that information?
I kind of turned to look at everybody to kind of see what their reaction is.
Is there anything like I can hear out of the ordinary besides the animals?
Yeah, with the 24, you definitely don't see what the source of these things might be fleeing from.
Well, as the we don't want to be here if the animals are leaving. Just made that bullshit up right now, but I feel like it's definitely
Yeah,
a thing.
it's probably a thing.
That's probably a reasonable assessment.
They're usually better at sensing danger. That's
Yeah.
human way.
I'm perfectly content to head out.
Okay.
So, quick question: which direction are you all headed in?
Oh yeah, because we were gonna stop by the village of that guy we rescued. So, like, I assume like we would be able. We're gonna head in kind of a straight line, although it would be up to our ranger.
Well, we need to go back and get our horses and stuff, right?
You do.
Yeah.
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 I guess it depends on what's shorter. Making it like if we have to go through the swamp to get to the village anyway, then we're not going to be able to use our horses to get there.
Well, the village was
It's below, like
Beyond
it's
the
out
swamp,
of the
yeah.
swamp, right?
Yeah.
it was out the elven forest.
From the description he gave you, it was beyond the borders of the forest, and you know for sure the swamp ends on the border of the forest. So yeah, you could walk there in 2 days, or you could walk out of the swamp, get your horses, and go around, and it would take you roughly the same time.
I feel like going around the swamp is safer then.
Yeah.
So I don't know about you guys, but I'd prefer to be out of the swamp if at all
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah. Also, it saves us having to go back in again to get the horses.
Yeah.
Although the horses are on the edge of it anyway, so
Oh yeah.
yes.
Well,
Okay, cool. So, in that case, I guess make me a survival check now that you've been through here once, to see how effectively you can navigate out. Wow, okay, that'll do.
Pretty effectively, if
So,
I have to say.
you through basically a day's travel. Now that you're more familiar with the layout, and you don't have to sort of look for landmarks or keep an eye on things, you get fairly close to the edge of the swamp before night falls again, and you guys will have to. So. I guess I will roll to see if anything happens. Okay, so yeah, you travel for a day. Nothing particularly eventful happens. The evening comes. You set up as normal. Once again, the evening passes relatively without incident. I do need all of you who are not immune to disease to make me a Constitution save. And you can have advantage for the successful survival check.
ooh.
Oh dear.
Boy.
Is everybody else immune to disease?
I am.
I am.
I don't think Vondal is.
Yeah, hang on.
I was gonna say, Arya, you have a +2. I don't know if that makes a huge difference.
Okay, so Arya, you spend the evening sort of like keeping watch, meditating outside of the tents. And during the evening, irritatingly, you are bitten by a number of biting, stinging insects.
Bugs.
The effect of which aren't immediately obvious to you.
Great.
Awesome.
Okay.
Prize.
So, you guys set off again. Make me another survival check, please, Arya. Okay, yeah, that again was more than enough to pass. So, yeah, you essentially make it back to the swamp outpost by probably about the middle of the day. And you find... Where's my swamp thing? I've lost it. Just a second. There it is. Okay, yeah, you arrive back at the swamp outpost. To find that things are a little different to when you left them. namely that basically one of the rough wooden shacks seems to have collapsed ever so slightly down into the swamp, and there is distinct marks of what from a distance looked like probably fire damage around the other hut, which was the hut that the old man invited you into.
I guess we should loudly announce our presence.
Loudly and proudly.
So do you just call out?
Well, I'll just say hello.
Okay.
Zudar?
Yeah, as you call out, Zudar emerges from the doorway of the remaining building. Like sort of holds up a hand to you in greeting and beckons you to come on over.
Okay. I'll come over.
Yeah. So I presume you all follow.
Yeah.
Okay. So as you guys duck inside, you see like there's clearly sort of like signs of battle damage around this cabin. And inside the cabin, lying on the bed, sort of with one arm in bandages, is the older elf. And as you as you sort of step inside, Zudar is in the process of going through the belongings of basically a scrawny-looking lizard man who appears to be tied to the old rocking chair by a length of rope.
Okay.
Seems you guys had some trouble here.
You could say that, yes.
Huh. Wait, was the original owner, was he around? Like the old guy that lived here?
Yeah. He's lying on the bed with his arm bandaged.
Oh.
He's asleep.
So, care to explain what happened?
Yeah, he Zudar finishes sort of like going through the belongings of this scrawny lizard man, and sort of like he's going through it's got like a leather sort of jerkin, and he's going through and like pulling like little bone needles out and knives and various weapons and just throwing them all to one side in a big pile. And he turns back to you and says, long story short, this fellow here and his companions decided that one evening that they were going to attempt to ambush us. They managed to dislodge the other hut and tip it into the swamp, which fortunately woke us up in enough time to react to their assault. At which point they started throwing, I suppose they could loosely describe them as firebombs at us. During the ensuing skirmish, the owner of the premises was wounded. I have done my best to tend to his wounds. I myself am unharmed, but I was forced to temporarily ignore my vows of non-interference for a short period. At which point he gestures to the club that he carries. That is like on his back, and judging by the state of the lizard man in front of him, you assume that he went for the non-lethal approach.
Well, self-preservation is very important.
You don't need to tell me that.
Have you learned anything from this guy?
He grimaces and says, unfortunately no. Whatever language he seems to speak, I can't understand him. Last time he was awake, though, he did try to, well, stab me. With pretty much anything he could get his hands on, which, as it turns out from the contents of his coat, is rather a lot of things.
Yes. Wait, is the lizard is then knocked out, I assume?
Yes. Well, he's sort of on less unconscious than the man who is lying on the bed, in that he's sort of like drooling and like occasionally like twitching, as if he was knocked out fairly recently.
This seems like we kind of have to do something about this, don't we? I just look at the others.
Probably.
But well, I guess you all speak like a bunch of different languages. Perhaps if we wake him up, you guys have a shot at it.
I don't.
Yeah, give me some nature checks.
I assume that includes me?
Everybody can.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Okay.
Oh wait, no, hang on. I realised I already told you this, because you guys did a nature check earlier. You remember that they speak Draconic.
Oh.
Oh, great. We just wasted that fucking natural 20.
Yeah.
Oh,
The
boy.
double natural 20.
I know.
Look at
Turns out
all
they
these
speak
guys.
Infernal.
Yeah.
That's
But
like
yeah,
a finger would.
yes, you recall that last time the nugget of information was that they speak a rough form of Draconic.
Well, we do happen to have a Draconic speaking being in our midst.
You could have
Draconic
worded
speaking
that.
being.
You could have
Yeah.
worded that so much better.
You know. Look, it was a sentence. It happened.
But yes, I believe I may be able to help with the communication issue.
So sort of nods and says, well, he's all yours.
Do we want to wake him up now?
Oh, I guess.
I mean, might as well.
Sure.
Well, like it's
I
gonna
mean-
help. Waiting.
Yeah, sure. Zudar sort of like leans into him, like puts a hand on the lizard man's shoulder, and you see like the brief like glow of magic as he brings him to consciousness. The lizard man sort of like starts awake, tries to sort of like struggle, and realizing he's sort of tied, is sort of like trying to see if he can like in any way loosen himself by like wriggling and like trying to nip at the ropes with his like long teeth, long nose. What do you guys do?
Well, I guess look at Kelariis.
I mean, if I see him doing that, I'll probably say in Draconic, I'll just be like, I wouldn't do that if I were you.
He just sort of looks up at you and is sort of he regards you with an expression that is more sort of like irritation than anything else, but he does listen.
We just want to know why you and your why you came here with the other people you came with, and what you wanted exactly.
He sort of he stares at you for a moment, sort of like it, before he sort of says, "Swamp is our kingdom. We have had people here long before elves come. This is our grounds, sacred ground.
this specific area or the entire swamp?
He looks at you almost as if he doesn't understand sort of like the entire swamp part, but he's sort of like actually okay. Yeah, no, okay. He's gonna reveal that to you. He says when lizard men lived here, there were 4 totems, each representing each represents one god. The totem here, Elfkin destroyed totem, shamed gods.
I think I relate this to everybody and kind of look to, you know, our elves to kind of see what the fuck they're like, what the fuck this guy's talking about, to see if they know anything.
I
We're
guess
gonna have to wake up the old guy.
Yeah, he might know, but I don't know. Maybe Arya or Lithari knows something
yeah,
that I don't.
you could I guess elves, you could make me a history check. Vondal, you could also make me a religion check.
Nope.
Hey!
Okay.
I passed a religion check, guys.
Holy
Yes, you
shit.
did.
That's not very often.
So, yeah, Lithari Arya, you have no idea what the lizard man is talking about. Vondal, something from the very like back of your teachings on things that you've learned about religion. You know that lizard men amongst a couple of other species that are supposedly descended from the primordials, which include some tribes of orcs and other creatures, worship essentially four primordial deities that are roughly equivalent to like the 4 elements, like earth, water, fire, air. And
the Avatar.
Yeah,
Shut up.
the conventional theory is that when primordials still like populated the earth, because technically like elementals and stuff are like part primordial. That when the material plane was forged, like there was still a lot of raw elements in existence that would have manifested into things like elementals or beings from the elemental planes, and they would have been worshipped as gods by the primordial races. And the worship of these is very ritualistic. Like totems based on their affinity are often worshipped. And if what the lizard man is saying is accurate, it's entirely possible that sort of their tribe believes that when the elves came, presumably when this was not a swamp and was still a village, elves came, unknowingly destroyed a totem to some or a shrine of worship to some ancient god, and this has been a grudge ever since, and it's been it's not until recently that the area is less populated that obviously the lizard men have been able to sort of like launch raids on it, and if they see this as a sort of a religious affront, then that would explain why they're assaulting the place.
Okay, I'll very much relay that.
Okay.
So not something that will
Get them
just
to
go away.
stop. Right, well, I almost want to suggest to see if they can kind of come to not really an agreement, but an understanding.
I feel like the understanding is leave the lizard folk alone. But I don't know how much that would be agreeable for the elves, that is.
Like my first thought was, why? Well, if the elf here and the lizard folk can like kind of see past their, well, past, maybe they can let the lizard folk build a new shrine, and he can.
Well,
Or
that's what
new
I was
totem?
thinking. I was thinking of suggesting something to that, along those lines.
And hopefully he doesn't have to move this, because I don't feel like he has the resources to build a new, well, hut.
No, but I also feel like staying here might not be a huge issue if if they no longer attack and if they're allowed to have, if the lizard folk are allowed to have a totem here or nearby or wherever it used to be.
Just don't know how deep grudges run in lizard folk,
Well,
because
You
like,
can always ask him.
Yeah, I mean,
like we
It's
really
not
need.
the worst
don't ask
option.
him necessarily how grudges go, but at least ask
No,
him
I'm
how it
gonna ask
goes
him if
with back.
he's open to the idea of maybe working things out.
Oh, I get the
Though-
feeling he's going to say, well, you'd have to talk to someone else about that.
Well, I mean, should we wake up the old? Maybe
Should.
talk to him.
Yeah,
We probably
but-
shouldn't be negotiating shit like this. Well, the guy who lives here is not conscious.
Yeah, Zudo will offer to wake him.
Yes,
Probably a
please.
good idea.
Okay. Yeah, he just sort of shakes the man awake. It takes a few moments, but he gets up. He seems sort of fairly worn. You can see that like he obviously sustained quite like a fairly serious injury to sort of his upper torso, and his arm is like in a sling and bandaged up. It's quite clear that Zudar's taken like fairly good care of him. But yeah, he definitely seems worse for wear. But yeah, he is awake and will listen to your questions.
Okay, so for the brevity of it, I will relate the information that about the totems and that issue. Kind of ask if he knows anything about that.
Let's find out.
Like if he knows specifically anything.
He has no idea.
Okay, well that's fucking fantastic. That's fine. I figured he might have not. Well, even if you don't know, how would you feel about us perhaps offering to let them rebuild a totem here in exchange for them no longer causing trouble?
Does it from like looks at the lizard man, and the lizard man just sort of goes, and he's just sort of like,
That was a noise.
yep. He hisses at him, kind of like a cat, except he's a lizard.
Surely you'd hiss like a snake.
Hissing lizards are totally a thing, and they sound fucking terrifying.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was attempting to imitate that sound, but I can't do it because I'm not a lizard.
Wait, you're telling me you haven't been a lizard man all this time?
No.
Because you're not a lizard? What?
I'm not a member of the British royal family, so.
Wow.
Wow.
Perfect.
Wow.
Anyway. Yeah, he sort of considers the lizard man, seems fairly displeased, but sort of says, well, I'm just here to do a job.
What the fuck?
Well, I'm going to offer that as a potential
Fine by
thing
me.
to happen. Okay. Look back to the lizard man. I feel like I should ask him his name if we're gonna be
Yeah.
talking about this shit. Yeah, like both the old guy and the lizard folk individual. I turn to, so what happens is I probably turn to the lizard man in the chair, stop, look back at the old elf and say, by the way, what is your name?
I think we didn't we find out his name?
I don't
No.
think I
forget.
did.
Nobody asked his name.
No, we
This is
didn't
a
ask
classic
his
thing in
name.
our party.
We
We
just
don't
showed up.
ask names.
You two got drunk together.
Yeah, we got
and then we
absolutely
left.
plastered
Yeah.
together.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
You got really, really drunk. You didn't even learn his name.
Yes.
I don't think you learned mine, so.
No. Yes, he introduces himself as, where is his name?
His name is gone, lost in the ages.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
God.
Reese Newbloom.
Oh,
That's R-E-E-S. Reese.
Okay. Well, that's what he's being known by,
Uh,
because probably don't remember his last name anyway, so it's fine.
Yes.
Right. Nice to meet you. My name's Kelariis, and
Yeah.
the others who can introduce themselves while I deal with
Kelariis and
Yay.
It's like you
Well-
can introduce yourselves while I talk to this listener.
Yeah, he sort of he nods and sort of says, I'm aware of who you are. He presumably asked
Well,
Oh,
Zuda.
right. Fair.
although I think some of you did introduce yourselves anyway.
Wow, I don't remember. It's been so long.
Yeah, it's been a while. Anyway.
yeah.
Right, and I turn back to the lizard man. Say, okay. First things first. What's your name? Because I don't want this to be, harsh conversation here.
He introduces himself to you as Rask. R-H-A-A-K-S. So, let me type that actually.
Okay.
great.
Awesome. Hold on, let me write that down very quickly. Okay. And I say, it's nice to meet you. My name's Kelariis. Now, based on what you told me and what I just heard from Reese here, I believe that we can maybe come to an agreement on behalf of your people and the elves. Because he sure doesn't know anything about what happened with your totem, and I apologize for that issue that happened whenever it was that happened. But it seems like he is agreeable with having a new one built here if you no longer launch raids and cause trouble for the elves in this swamp.
Give me a persuasion check.
Okay. Oh, okay. Well, please.
Okay.
Nice.
I have proficiency. I almost forget about this because I never use it.
He looks at you quizzically before asking you in Draconic, why are you helping?
Because your people were wrong whenever it was that the elves took down the totem, and they didn't understand what they were doing, and I think that it's better to make things right than to have conflict where it's not needed.
He looks at you, considers your response, and he. I think he goes to like make a gesture, then realizes he's tied down, thinks about how to say it in Draconic, and then sort of says, we have, yeah, I guess he says we have a pact.
Alright.
I think that's his way of saying he agrees.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. And I was trying to think, like, is there a way that I can make sure he really means this besides doing an insight check? But I mean,
Well,
An
yeah,
insight
and
check.
that's exactly what an insight check
yeah,
is
I
for.
was like,
Exactly
Wait,
what it's
we're
for.
in-
well, I was trying to think if there's a way I could put it in words, but I think it just consists of her very like kind of
Well,
squinty
you,
neck, like,
you ask the DM, is he being genuine? And then I say,
No, I know.
make me an insight check.
God, I wish I could speak Draconic, then I could.
Oh,
insight.
boy.
Latin do something
Okay.
with truth.
Yeah, but I don't really want to use it unless I have to.
Yeah, it's you don't really know lizard man body language, and he's tied down, so his body language is a bit weird anyway. I guess he was telling the truth.
Fantastic.
Like, there's nothing that indicates that he was lying.
Like he wasn't doing what you usually expect is like sketchy behavior.
Yeah, he looked you like full in the face. It wasn't like he was looking away from you, or
Right.
no obvious tell that he was lying.
Okay. Well, I'm taking your word that you do this as a pact, and if I hear that you've broken it, you or your people, or the elves for that matter, I will come back and take care of it.
He looks very, very offended.
I probably also repeat this to the old man, and I say,
Yeah.
I look and like say it in common as well. But
Yeah.
I look back at the lizard folk when he looks offended and say, I don't mean this just against you. That is for both you and the elf here, or the elves that live here.
He still looks offended that you questioned him.
Okay. I mean, fair. I would also be offended, but I mean business. This is what happened.
If anything, the fact that he's offended shows that he was being genuine.
I would hope so. I'm going to undo the rope now, and you're free to go. Okay.
He nods.
Okay, I'm going to undo the ropes. And I hope to God he just leaves and doesn't do anything crazy. 'Cause
Well,
I don't want to hurt him.
you untie him. He sort of rubs his wrists, walks over to the pile of weapons and bone needles and things that Zudar confiscated from him, and starts just picking them up.
Okay. I will
Um,
help him pick his things up, and I will hand his stuff back to him as best I can.
Okay, yeah, you sort of like when you hand it to him, like the first thing he takes from you quite quickly, and then he realizes that you're helping, and he's like, sort of, okay. Once he has put almost everything into his coat, he is left holding one long bone needle, which he promptly jabs a couple of times into his wrist.
Oh, jeez.
Alright,
blood.
And he then offers the like he extends the bleeding, like the bloody end of the bone
Oh.
needle to you.
Ugh.
You make a blood
Oh,
pact.
boy. Well, hey, look, on the bright side, I'm immune to diseases, so this isn't gonna go horribly wrong
That's
disease-wise for me. So,
Hey!
I will do as he does, and I
Okay.
You have
No
children. Don't try this
Blood
at home.
transmitted
You
diseases.
will
that's
get bad diseases.
don't do this if you're not
Yeah.
divinely protected.
Do not
Okay.
do not share razor blades. Do
Or
not share any
syringes.
needles
Yeah.
or syringes or anything like that.
Oh,
do not share
God,
any of
okay.
these.
Oh, what's
Okay,
that?
So you jab yourself in the wrist
Unless
as
you
well.
have Divine razor
Okay,
blades.
take one piercing damage.
Sure, I'll
Oh.
take 1 piercing damage.
Wow.
And he he scrutinizes you for a while, and just sort of like he isn't really quite sure what to make of you, because he's quite clearly never met anything quite like you before.
Yeah, I get that a lot. That's
Um,
fine.
Damn.
Yeah.
This isn't anything new to me.
Alright.
And he sort of he takes the needle, like wraps it up in like a little like fabric thing that he has, and then places it back inside his jacket. Sort of he regards the elf cautiously before like walking out, and as he walks out, he makes a gesture where he basically raises his hand to his head and like runs his thumb and middle finger like across like the ridges where his like he doesn't have eyebrows because he's a lizard man, but where his eyebrows would be. And yeah, and like he rubs that like as if he's like pinching something from his forehead, but he doesn't actually pull anything away. He makes like a pinching gesture and then like flicks it away as if like dismissing something. And then he says in Draconic, "I take your message. I go now."
All right, travel safely.
He looks you back and says, "Travel safely."
Great.
And
Awesome.
and he
I
walks
just
away.
realized I'll just start talking as Grim. Like, I just realized we kind of made a crucial mistake.
Did we?
How are they gonna communicate the building?
Oh, they'll fucking figure it out. I have faith in them.
Well, I guess pictures they can draw in the mud.
I mean, it's pretty obvious if they start building something here that looks like a totem. What it is.
At this point, the older elf sort of chimes in and says, "Well, you know, I should probably write a report about this. So I guess I'll mention that they only speak Draconic."
It might be a good idea.
Probably.
Well, it's way above my pay grade.
Well, hopefully
means-
that sorts the problem with the lizard folk.
He sort of rubs his, like, what was quite possibly broken arm and goes, "Yep, me too."
And who knows? Perhaps you might be able to work out some sort of agreement. You are on the lookout for drow in these swamps, aren't you?
Oh yeah.
He looks at you and says, "You know, I never thought of it like that."
I'm sure they don't take too kindly to elves of any sort deep in their lands.
You might be right.
Who would've
Lithari
thought?
kind of grins and has a very smug look on her face.
Hmm.
Recruiting the lizardmen. Yeah, that's like the whole next level.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
So I guess we're done here.
Oh,
I guess we should probably tell this old Tallithsyr that we kind of made the people in the Underdark mad.
Oh yeah.
oh, yeah.
Yes.
We didn't tell him.
Yeah,
But
should we
we'll
tell
say-
him should we tell him our story?
Okay.
Yeah, make sure he's sitting
We'll tell
down.
We'll tell him our story.
Well, he's perched on the bed, so you guys start relating the story to him, and he has to stop you halfway through. Like, hold on. You actually went to the Underdark, and like
Yeah.
he listens to your entire conversation. He's just like, this might seem like kind of an understatement, but you're not ordinary adventurers, are you?
We're more foolish than the average.
You can say that again.
Foolish veterans, you might say.
Yeah.
Although I suppose we-
Under his breath, for those close enough, and he whispers to himself, "And they said I was crazy."
I didn't know Lithari could be described in 2 words, but foolish veteran gets there.
Yep.
Yeah, pretty much. Foolish veteran.
I mean, fair.
Pretty great.
So, with that sort of, Zudar listens to your tale and sort of turns to you and says, "Now I rather regret that I didn't come with you. Although,
don't worry. I have some literature you can have a look at, but I don't think you read Undercommon or Elvish.
that is a good question. I can't actually remember what languages.
I mean, he probably speaks Elvish. He's an elf.
No, he's talking to Zudar.
No, Sudar.
Oh,
Sudar
Zudar.
is a half orc.
Sorry, I didn't realize we were talking about Zudar.
He speaks Common, Gnomish, Elvish, and Orcish.
Yeah, that is. Oh wait. Oh, I guess you can have a look at the
Yeah, he speaks Elvish.
Yeah, he might understand.
the
Some of it.
journal. Well, I'll give it to him in our next long rest. Basically.
Did you not give the journal to Lithari?
No, Lithari has the black steel tip. The journal is still with the rest of the books, just to keep it safe.
Oh, okay. So, just because it was my impression that from the end of last session that Lithari was taking the book with her.
Oh, I
But
thought
that's
we were, like.
that's up to you guys to decide.
Oh, Lithari will be right back. Unfortunate timing. Oh,
Sorry, I'll be right back after these messages.
Lithari did ask for the book, is what he says.
Yeah, yeah. But I thought we looked in it and then we decided to put it back in the bag because bag of holding is a lot safer while traveling.
Well, okay.
Yeah,
So
that's
it's still in the bag. Whether or not you give it to Zudar to read at his leisure is a question. Is a conversation you will have to have with Lithari.
Yeah, no, it will more be like a long rest kind of deal, and then he gives it back. At the
Yeah.
end.
Yeah, he definitely seems interested by the idea of extracurricular activities.
Extracurricular activity.
Wiggles eyebrow.
I was gonna say, can we teach him? Can he learn smithing by reading all these books? Probably not.
Smithing really isn't his jam. He's just interested
No, I
about
don't
learning
think so.
stuff.
Yeah. Good.
Mainly just about history. He likes history.
I like history too, so we have that in common.
But yes.
Well. I guess the real question is, are you gonna be alright? Like asking the old guy. I forgot his name already.
Reese.
Reese, yeah. Reese's Piece.
Yeah, Reese sort of shrugs and says, "Well, your friend here dealt with me pretty sharpish, so I'm pretty sure I'm gonna be all right." Which Zudar confirms, but Zudar basically says he probably should avoid drinking whatever it is that he insists on drinking because it actually isn't very good for his health. Probably even less so now that he's injured.
Yeah.
I'm back. What did I miss?
Welcome back.
A tiny bit of irrelevant conversation.
Yeah,
Okay.
mostly about is he going to be all right
Yep.
if we leave?
Like-
But yeah,
Can we leave this man without having a death on our conscience?
Yeah.
well, yeah.
But,
As far
like,
as you can tell, his broken arm has been dealt with and he has been magically healed. So it will, in theory, in a long rest, he could be pretty much fully healed,
Well,
thanks to the wonders of magic.
Yeah, Lithari doesn't have the book, right? That's the
You do not have the
complete
book, no, but
No.
you have requested it.
Yeah.
Whether or not the book gets given to Zudar as light reading is a conversation that you will have to have later. But
well,
but yes,
probably gonna happen during the loop when we're back,
well,
or at least the big talks. But yeah.
Zudar basically says he had to move the horses the last time the lizard men came poking around. So they are off a little bit further down the road, so you've got a little bit of walking before you can get on horses, but they are ready to go if you are.
Nice. Think we're ready?
Yeah, I'd say we are.
We're not forgetting anything important. Don't need to disable any flags in the swamp. Or like tripwires or whatever it was.
Yeah, you ask Reese, and Reese seems to think they have all been triggered since the events of the other evening.
Well, guess hope nothing bad happens.
Yeah. He says if you want to be doubly safe, just whenever you see an orange flag, poke it with a stick.
Okay. Well, I guess there's no harm in being safe.
Okay. Yeah, you make it through the muddy water across to the other side.
Nice.
And yeah, you guys can mount up. And now I believe you need to have a conversation about where it is that you're going.
Oh yeah.
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 So I guess we're gonna
Oh,
see if we
we
can
should-
find this young knight's village.
Yeah, we should definitely make the tiny detour.
We shall make a small detour.
Not, unfortunately, on the map, as the map does not quite cover the full distance.
Darn.
But yes, it will take you roughly... if you leave now, you will probably arrive there by evening.
Oh, okay.
That works.
Yeah, no worries.
That sounds like a good plan.
As you are on horseback.
Then we spend the night and then back to Silverbrook.
Okay, so with that, you guys can set off. Wow, that is a low roll.
How many tiles can we move again? Is it 6?
Yeah, it's 6 on horseback takes you a day. But yeah, you're not moving that way. You're going that way.
Oh, right.
Yeah, we're going there.
Oh, so actually, no wait, no, yeah, it would still, yeah, because the hexes aren't quite. Yeah, because you'd reach the border of the forest and then it would be 1 hex more. So yeah, you guys travel off. I don't actually have a map of the village, so I'm just gonna leave you guys on this for the moment. But yes, after a short period of traveling, you do in fact notice this small village. Essentially, you come out of the distance of the trees, and then probably not even an hour's journey from the edge of the tree line is it can barely even be called a village. It's more like just a cluster of buildings. But you surmise that is the village that was mentioned, and you head towards it. With that, yeah, you guys basically ride into the with the setting sun, a small village square. And as you enter the small village square, you are immediately the focus of attention of the maybe 10 people who are gathered in the square. Or, I say square, it's the center of a bunch of buildings with a well in the middle.
That's a square.
Yeah, it functions like a village square. But yeah, you guys turn up in shining armor on horseback. a various mishmash, and 10 very perplexed-looking humans sort of regard you guys as you come in, and don't really know how to react.
Well, I guess Vondal probably speak up. Just sort of go. We had met a young knight, I suppose, probably say, in the swamp just north of here, and well, we wanted to make sure everything had gone. Well, make sure everything was okay.
Okay.
Well, I suppose wanted to check up on him. I suppose was what we'd use.
They look at each other perplexedly, and then one man sort of pipes up and says, "Do you mean Guildford?"
Did we even learn his name?
Well, we never
No,
got
you
his name,
didn't.
but he has a sick
We
sister.
don't ask names at
or
this party.
he has a sick relative, at
You
least.
don't ask people's names ever.
No, we don't.
Oh boy.
We're great at this.
This is a tiny town. This oh, what was it? Was it his sister? Sister
His
involved?
sister-in-law.
Yeah.
You have this hurried conversation like, who the fuck was he again?
There's a sick person in this village, and we came by, or like he was looking for a cure. Ring any bells?
The more you talk about this, they're like, oh yeah, you want Guildford.
Okay. Well,
And they point you to the quite possibly like the largest building in town. And by largest building, I mean like it has like 3 or 4 rooms instead of 1.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
quadruple the size.
I guess I'll just nod and thank them.
You ride off, and you guys disappear, and there's like sort of like a hush of whispers as you guys like ride off.
This is clearly a story that has not been told. Either that or he's not here.
Well, you arrive at the door to the house. The whole place looks it looks like it was once like maybe quite a well-built construction. Obviously a lot of effort had gone into it. It's not exactly a particularly rich place, but it was obviously built by somebody who had more money than the rest of the residents of town. But in recent years, it seems to have sort of gone to rack and ruin a little bit. Like the roof hasn't been replaced for a while, and it's starting to look a little bit tattered.
I guess you probably knock on the door.
Okay. Yeah, you knock on the door. After a few moments, the door opens and you'd recognize him as the man that you met in the swamp, minus the armor. Opens the door, and he's surprised to see you and says, "You've come. What news?"
Well, it's twofold. First off, that alchemist or healer in the swamp, that was a rumor spread by a bunch of hags looking for easy prey. Second off, we can probably help you with your sick relative.
As you tell him the first part, he looks like visibly sort of like crestfallen. He's about to respond when you say that you can help him, and he's like, "How? I don't have anything I can repay you with."
Well, just make sure that that any rumors of this healer in the swamp, make sure they know that it's, well, not a healer. That hags are dead, but we wouldn't want people going into the swamp looking for something that doesn't exist. And like, at least I
He
assume
sort
we
of
can do
nods in agreement.
You need not repairs at all.
something. Yeah, that will do.
Yeah, he sort of says, well, come in. I'm afraid the place isn't exactly very well cared for, and there isn't a lot of room, but you're welcome to come in.
Okay.
You as you sort of step inside this place, essentially the majority of the building is taken up by sort of a room that is like twofold, that is sort of a large living area with a long wooden table that is actually like piled up with sort of like dirty dishes and unclean like cooking utensils. And the second area is a large kitchen, and he leads you beyond like the kitchen area into a small back area where there is like a little corridor, and the rest of the space is split into a one room that you can see through into that is a smaller sort of bedroom. There's one bed and a small table, and on a you can see on a stand that the armor has been put back onto this sort of very sort of beleaguered looking like straw dummy that is obviously designed to like hold the armor. And the other room he leads you to, he knocks on the door and says, Lars, is she presentable? We have some guests. And you sort of like hear her scrambling inside. He sort of says, yes, come in. And opens the door. And there is a room that maybe perhaps 3 of you could stand in at once, because the rest of the room is taken up with a essentially a double bed and a dresser, and then next to it is another small bed that has been made up mostly on the floor. And lying in the double bed is a very very thin looking woman who is basically having her brow sort of like washed by a fairly sort of is a fairly sort of like thick set man. He looks like from like the cut of his hair and the tan on his face, he looks like a farmer. Yeah, and he seems to be caring for this woman.
What does a haircut look like?
Short.
Yeah.
Yeah, practical as opposed to completely shaven, which would be military.
Okay. Well. I'll look into Vondal. But you. Wait. I assumed you can heal diseases, right? Otherwise, I may have hyped this up a little too much.
Well, that's the thing. You can get rid of diseases with lay on hands anyway.
Yeah, I
And
can do
also,
that.
I've actually been looking through my stuff, and I actually can't.
What?
I don't think.
I don't know.
Look, I don't know that Kelariis can do it, so
I just have
assume
really
they're
good-
fine.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think any of
I
you
just have
actually
a-
know that Kelariis can do it.
I can
Right, 'cause we're the only
detect
person.
disease.
Yeah, 'cause it's
I mean, you
disease.
also don't know that it's a disease yet.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
fuck yeah.
well, that we kind of
Well,
assumed.
Well, if it's a
that's the thing,
disease, I can-
I was gonna say, can I do some medicine check to figure out what it is that is
Okay.
wrong?
Sure, you can step inside and do a medicine check.
Oh,
Wow.
Like a
Oh,
boss.
Okay.
Like a fucking boss.
Okay. Okay, so as you like look this woman over, the man sort of steps away from her for a second, and he frantically introduces himself as Lars Broadstream, who is the wife of the woman who is in front of you, who he introduces as Miri. And yeah, he basically tells you that as far as they know, she was down by the river one day when she felt she felt dizzy and had shortness of breath, and they carried her back to the house. And basically, she's never been the same since. She's for the start, she was unable to stand for any sort of extended period of time before becoming dizzy and short of breath. Now she is basically bedridden because her muscles have basically wasted away to nothing, and there are days where she struggles to breathe like at all. And as this information is fed to you and you examine her, you notice that her skin is incredibly clammy. And she is exhibiting basically almost all of the signs of a very intense fever. And from what you know of the medical training that you received as part of your order training, she has what is commonly known as wasting sickness.
Asp.
It is in fact a disease. You do know that it is curable with medication, though you don't have the tools you would need to make it, because you need to distill a very specific set of herbs. You cursed yourself because you know that V has the capabilities to make exactly this. But other than that, you have no idea of how you can cure it.
Bizarre.
Right.
But I will confirm in game mechanics terms, it is a disease.
Yeah.
Okay. Does he say all of this out loud?
I don't know.
Or is
do
this
you?
kind of like him just being like...
That was him
He probably
in his
speaks
head.
aloud while he's doing the examination.
God bless
Okay.
Vondal.
Because
I'm glad
that's
that you're
what
the
he
type
does.
of
It's
person to
probably
do
part
that,
of his
yeah.
thing where he like speaks aloud, not
Yeah.
only to reassure the people there, but also to help himself.
Yeah,
like,
it's
so to
bedside manner, sort of.
put- Yeah, exactly.
Out of character, can't, because I don't think Lithari would know this, but I, as a player, know this. Can't Kelariis cure it?
Kelariis can cure it, yes, but nobody knows in character that Kelariis has the ability to do that.
So yeah, Vondal probably ends with essentially we need a specific mixture which I could not create now.
I might be able to do something about that. And I like step into the room
Okay.
to
I'll like step aside and
We-
gesture.
As you step into the room very quickly becomes very crammed.
Yeah,
I figured.
maybe leave the elves outside.
But yeah, like everybody else is sort of still standing in the corridor, but
Just like shuffle into the room as best I can.
yeah.
I'll do my best to make.
You
room.
just in plate armor, you just take up most of the room.
Ah, yes. I forgot I was wearing plate armor as well.
I know, right?
Yeah, sometimes I just forget that we have our armor on because we usually have it
Yeah.
on, so it's just like, ah, yes,
Yeah.
you know, part of the casual thing.
It was funny. It's funny because if you weren't riding a magical horse, it would actually cause your horse to be fatigued more often than not. But
Wow.
magical
Yeah.
horse, everybody.
Magical
Well,
horse.
Like
Plate armor is
the horse
heavy.
has to carry the armor anyway. So it's
Yes.
not like wearing it changes your weight at all.
Yeah, but the weight distribution would be different
I guess.
Yeah, that's fair.
because you have to have a specific kind of horse to actually be able to move to be able to carry a plate armor rider without penalties.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Okay.
Thing.
But yes, I will guess very carefully take her hand and
Yeah.
do some.
You've never done
hand
this
thing.
before, but you
I'm
think
gonna
you
try my best.
Okay.
Never done this before, but why not?
I have no idea what I'm doing, but I think I can do this.
Okay.
Maybe. That's how you do it, right? You take somebody's hand and you like channel the magical healing energy.
Well, it's lay on hand.
If you tell me that's how it works, that's how it works.
It
I
is
mean,
lay
that's
on
how-
hands. You do have to touch.
So you like
Yeah, I think she hesitates and it's just like, hand.
yeah this is yeah. This looks good.
Yep.
How inspiring.
Don't just grab a random part of this woman.
So you
Well, it was that or it was gonna be like shoulder, but
yeah you grab hold of a hand and it's like sort of like as you engulf this very very weak and very scrawny woman's hand in your massive hand, she's sort of like she's like very vaguely conscious and is sort of like looking up at you, and you say a little prayer under your breath.
yeah.
Okay.
Kind of give her a reassuring smile. Hopefully this works.
Okay. I love that you just doing this. You have no idea if this would actually work in character.
Like, here's the thing. Kallistrate she's good at like, right, I'm gonna slap my head, not slap my head. I'm gonna put my hand on her shoulder and be like, you're healed, you can do more fighting. But this is like, to her, this is a lot more delicate, and she's not sure how to do this like properly.
How to handle fragile humanoids.
Something like that.
How to handle small 5-foot woman who's wasting away.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it just consumes a number of
It's
points,
5.
doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's 5.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've
So
marked them off.
you channel this divine energy through you, and you feel the energy like disperse into this woman, and almost you're not sure whether you're just whether you can actually feel this or whether it's just you feeling the magic leave you and enter her. It almost feels like something is like burning away from her. And you do immediately notice that she no longer has trouble breathing. She's still incredibly weak because that's just the nature of human physiology. It doesn't get instantly restored.
Right.
But she no longer has trouble breathing, and she very slowly sort of like lifts herself up, and everybody, like the two men in the room, immediately sort of like go to support her, but she doesn't actually need it. And yeah, she sort of shakily looks up, and she looks at you and says, "How did you do that?" Kelariis internally goes, "I don't know."
Yeah, right. I
Through the might of Triferian.
I have a bit of a gift from somebody who lends me his power. God, that sounds so much worse than I meant that to sound.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that doesn't make it sound like you serve a god at all.
Yeah. Come here.
Word that. Fuck. Kelariis is panicking. She's not good with
I
this.
mean, hey, I just cursed your wife.
No, I swear it's good. I promise it's not bad.
Yeah.
Okay,
Fucking hell.
so she
Wedding.
she looks like a little bit concerned as you start to say this, and then you just like you sort of you finish it, and she just sort of like looks at you and is like, I see, and that's
My god. My god.
Oh, I see.
My god. Sorry. She like quickly adds for my god. She sees
She-
the concerned look.
Yeah, she seems more relieved at that, and she says, "Oh, I didn't realize you were a cleric."
I'm not exactly, but
That would be me.
that's him. But similar. So it's on the same lines.
But you can't just outwardly say paladin as if
Yeah.
you know.
I mean, I guess.
What a
Yeah.
concept that exists.
I'm sure it is, right?
Paladin is just an out of
So-
character thing. It's not a thing that characters would
Well,
know.
I don't know. Sometimes it's
Well-
like your class doesn't exist in the same way as
Yeah.
it does out of universe. I mean, if paladins are
it's a little bit
concept,
fiddly. Like, Tritherian wouldn't have called you a paladin, but you are a champion of Tritherian, which generally champions of gods are referred to in a sort of in their official context as paladins. You just never have had an official context.
Oh,
right?
You could call yourself a holy champion.
God, that sounds so like. Oh, look at me.
Well, you could also, within reason, call yourself a divine avenger if you really wanted to. But
Yeah, I don't know if I want to
think
say
that'd
that
get
to
the
this
right
family
kind
who
of-
just gave me a very concerned look when I fumbled
Yeah.
through saying I have a god.
Yeah.
yeah.
I swear
Anyway.
oath of vengeance.
I'll leave it as not quite a cleric, more of a warrior with some divine help. There we go. That's a good way to put it.
She doesn't really understand, but she sort of nods and thanks you anyway. And she says, however I can repay this, we must. And she sort of like turns to as should we make a sacrifice or something?
Oh no. It's,
Yeah.
it's
As I say,
there's no payment needed.
Hang on.
Aggressive typing.
Yep.
I know.
Mm-hmm. I like how we can hear the typing, so we know actually something's happening.
Yeah, but we have no idea what.
It just makes it worse, honestly. We're just all here like, oh god, what's being typed?
And it's just like this faint thing where only some of it.
It's just like yesterday, we were in my other group with Extra. We were just walking around in town, and I was just like, huh, I'm gonna look around and see if anybody is following us. Immediately heard a dice being rolled.
It's like, well, that's great.
Like,
See, I know in my heart that I would do that anyway, even if there
Oh.
wasn't, just to troll
Yeah,
you.
fucker.
I would
All
100%
the time, he just like rolls some dice when he doesn't need to, and we all go, what the fuck? We're just there like, what is he doing? What's gonna happen? And he's like, no, just carry on.
Like, I've been on that side of the table where I just rolled dice just to freak out my players, but like,
I mean, same.
even as a player, when you know what's happening, it's just like the worst.
Yep. Was that real or nah? So yes, you
Yeah.
feel a sense in the back of your mind.
Yeah, can you?
Oh god.
Fucking, I'm glad the first thing she thought was like, do we need to sacrifice something? And I'm like, no, that's the opposite of what you want to do. That is not, that is the last thing you want to do. Yeah, she's like, no sacrifice is necessary. There's, oh god, I'm trying to think how to word that without just straight
Yeah,
up
you
reading
don't
it.
need to word it the same way that he did, but basically, yeah, he's saying that just like you don't need to feel like you have to do anything.
Yeah, there's yeah. She can put it into much better words than I can, but it's
Yeah.
the message that gets across.
Yeah, so you just sort of like, I guess you just say something like, that you don't need to sacrifice anything. It just, you don't owe anyone anything. Just remember that sort of thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's actually
Cool.
that's probably almost exactly what she'd say.
Okay.
Because that's the what you sent me sounds really ominous in a weird
Yeah.
way. So I'm like, I don't repeat that, which is what her
Yeah.
first instinct would be.
Well, because that's how Tritherian thinks it.
I know, but I'm like, she probably doesn't want to say this to
Yeah.
these poor people.
He is a bit of a drama queen.
I know.
Wow.
It's great. I love
That
it.
fucking Tricarion.
I love how opposite our gods are. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
I love it so much.
But yeah, so on that note, Vondal, Kelariis says you needn't feel like you ever owe anything, and there's a little part of you that cringes and sort of goes, well, actually.
I didn't get
Vondal's making
fine.
concerned noises.
It just looks a little bit like Kelariis, like,
Yeah,
I'll let that one slide,
It's like,
because we have company.
can we not proselyte in the middle of this? Okay, thanks.
Not turn this into a philosophical debate.
Yeah, you let it slide.
Yeah, because we have company.
Vondal's gonna come knocking, coming to my tent later, like, so what you said earlier, we need to have a talk. He'll be
We
like,
need
no,
to
Vondal, we
talk
don't.
about what do you mean? What makes you think the 10? Just all around while we're next walking, just like so what you said in there.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Probably not.
you heal this woman, and yeah, generally the husband and wife sort of like they like embrace one another, and Guildford is sort of like I suppose the only thing I have left to offer you is a place to stay for the night.
Well, guess it's getting late, and a roof is nice.
That very much would be welcome.
I think Lithari goes over to the wife and kind of like puts a hand on her shoulder, and she's like, if there's anybody that you should really be thanking, it's your brother-in-law. If it wasn't for his bravery, we wouldn't have even known to come down here.
Aw, isn't
Yeah.
that nice?
This is
I
also
got really concerned when you were saying you were approaching us, like, oh god, what this time?
it's like Lithari, please.
That's actually really sweet. Well done.
Yeah.
It is really sweet.
Yeah, so you say that to her, and she sort of turns to Guildford and says, "Guildford, is that true?" And he sort of he looks a little bit awkward, and he's like, yes, well," and at this point, Lars says, "I did try to tell him not to go, but he didn't listen."
Well, occasionally a little bit of recklessness is beneficial.
Oh my god.
You're getting a fucking death stare. Suddenly what Kelariis says doesn't matter.
Vondal very audibly crosses his arms.
Like, stares you down.
Yeah, I kind of pat her on the shoulder, and then when I turn away and kind of make my way out, I just kind of wink at Vondal.
Oh my god. Why
Yeah.
are you like this?
I can't decide whether he roll his eyes or just squint at you, really. Probably just both.
Both. It
Yeah,
ends
just
in a
rolling
squint.
with your eyes and then squinting at you as you leave.
It's very brave to put yourself in danger for the sake of others.
Now that's a sentiment he can get behind. Finally, you've said something he agrees with.
Wow!
Finally.
Wow,
This never
rude.
happened.
Jeez.
I meant in this session. I
Oh
didn't
yeah,
mean,
okay,
like,
that's
ever.
fine. Uh huh.
So yeah, at that sentiment, Guildford sort of says, "Well, I must thank all of you again for putting yourselves in danger. I think it's safe to say that it'll be a long time before I ever even consider putting the armor on again. It didn't exactly serve me very well, at least not with my skill."
Yeah, you're not exactly the best warrior, but
Yeah.
Grim dropping the fucking truth bomb.
Oh my
Why
god!
are you here?
Fucking good.
He doesn't argue with you.
Fucking classic Grim, everybody.
look, perhaps you can practice sometime. Well, actually, if we're gonna stay here, we might as well give him some
Yeah.
pointers.
Oh, Grim.
Okay. Yeah, he isn't really sure like what you can teach him, but he sort of says, "Yes, yeah, I'm sure we can."
Lithari is 100% down.
Okay.
God.
God.
So yeah, he offers you, like, he in a flurry of newfound activity begins to clear away the massive mess of pots and pans that is just on the table, pushes the table to one side and invites you guys to basically like set up in the living room.
Alright, cool.
I think I'll stay outside. No need to take up any more of your kitchen floor.
Are you sure?
I'm perfectly fine. I don't need to lie down and stretch my legs, so
Are you just gonna sit outside the
Okay.
door, like
Outside the fucking window.
literally right outside the door?
If it doesn't rain, sitting outside is actually great.
Yeah, that's fair.
yeah, I guess it's a good point. Is it raining?
Give me a nature check.
Oh god.
I like how we need to check.
Yeah.
Roll.
Yeah, you can't just. I'm sorry, this isn't the modern day. You can't just whip open your smartphone and go, "What's the weather going to be like tonight?"
If we had V here, she could whip open her magic
Yep.
phone.
Oh.
Druidcraft, yeah.
I mean, we don't have Druidcraft, do we? So
It's okay, I
Well,
don't
I'll
think
do
we
that.
need it.
Gaia, what is
Oh.
the weather later?
The weather
This
is.
would mostly be just
But-
like Lithari going over, opening the door, and if it was raining, just like, okay, well, I guess the kitchen floor it is.
No, from a brief glance outside, the sky seems relatively clear.
Okay. Yeah.
The weather
Sorry,
today
it's-
will remain clear.
Say it's autumn, so it's probably going to be a little bit chilly, but chilly you can deal with.
Guy, I set my alarm for 7 tomorrow morning.
But yeah. So, he clears the space for those of you who just want to sleep. Are you guys going to try and teach him some sword play?
Well, just before, like,
I mean,
just as the sun goes down, you know,
Okay.
possibly not.
like it might be a little bit early to sleep, and then
Okay.
there's nothing better to do.
Yeah, you guys spend a little bit of time trying to teach him some sword play. He is not very good. He's got a strong arm. He can actually lift the he can wear the plate armor and lift the greatsword, but he fights like somebody who treats every weapon like a blunt instrument.
Have I seen worse? That's the real question.
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
So Vondal, you weren't going to use that warhammer anymore? No.
Wow.
Even then, treating it like it is a blunt instrument, like,
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
not a great idea.
yeah.
Well,
You get the feeling that his strength was earned in the fields, not on
yeah.
in a training ground.
Like you use the sharp side, not the flat side.
Stick with the pointy end.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I think Lithari's giving him a lot of tough love.
That
Okay.
seems to be Lothari's way.
But that's just
Yeah.
rolling his eyes slightly because he's like, I mean, this guy doesn't even seem that willing to be doing this.
Yeah.
So he's not really
Yeah,
participating.
you attract like a small crowd of onlookers as this happens.
God, poor guy. Well, have fun, you two.
I guess that's it.
Yeah, it's just a small thing. But yeah, you guys can rest. Arya, I would like you to make me a Constitution saving throw, please. Okay. After the break, I will whisper you some things.
Great.
But we're going to take a short break.
Nice.